Good morning, guys. Steve here from Blossom Racing. Today in my video we are going to run through how to install your head gaskets on your motor, and we're going to talk a little bit about torque specs. So let's dive right into this. We'll pull the first motor out. This is a Super Rhino 2.1. This is a brand new motor. If you are working on a used motor, I would recommend that you take a flat file, make sure it's clean, and before you try to put your head gasket and your head on, take this and just kind of run it across. Make sure your valves are down low enough. Make sure your piston's down below the top of the deck, and then just kind of run a file across just to try and pick up any high spots that you may have, because any high spots could cause you to blow head gaskets quite a bit. So just run a file across it and make sure that you get all the high spots cut down on it. All right. So let's get into this, and this is not WD-40, it is acetone. So I put that in there to hide it, so everybody didn't think that it was acetone and they would steal it from me. So I hid it in a WD-40 can, and now nobody takes it. So, all right. So we're gonna take a rag, get a little acetone on the rag, and I'm going to wipe off the head of my surface on the block. I'm going to clean up the surface on the head, set that down, and then my head gasket as well. Get that all cleaned out. We're just getting all the oils, anything on it, get it off. And then we are going to pull out our silicone, and this is what we use, Permatex Ultra Black. Put that on there, and here's how we put it on the head gasket. So I'm just going to take it and I squirt a little bit all the way around, not very much, okay? And then just take a finger and start spreading it around. But you want to be really careful not to get too much on here, because when you get too much on these gaskets and when you torque it down, it is going to squirt out into the piston, so it'll be on top of the piston. So every time your piston comes up, that the silicone will get squished in between your piston and your head. It also will get squished out into the valve pocket area, and then what you have is your valves coming up, hitting the silicone, and then your valve bends, and now you got a leaky valve, or it gets underneath the valve into the C area, and then you have basically the same problem. The valve won't seal. Causes a lot of problems. Your carburetor will act like it's not working properly because you'll have a vacuum leak. Compression, your signal to your carburetor will be really weak, so it will not pull in the correct amount of fuel. So you're sitting there going, something's wrong with my my carburetor, I'm not getting enough gas, you know, and go to find out it's not your carburetor, it's just your valve is leaking and not pulling in the proper amount of fuel. So then we just flip this over to the other side, and same thing, just put a really thin layer of silicone on both sides. one little spot, a little bit of silicone there, and just kind of rub it in. Then I usually flip back to the other side because all the bolt holes had a lot of silicone that popped through, and now you have like big chunks of it on the other side. So jump back to the other side and knock all those down. Okay, and there it is. There's one side, there's the other side. Then I'll grab me a rag, put it on my finger, and just wipe the inside edge off. Just like that. That knocks down all that. And then I come on the outside and I wipe the outside edge off. Just like that. Gets rid of that excess silicone so that it's not going to gush anywhere. All right. And then I'll get a couple head studs started in my block. Usually get 2 of them in there. And then you take your head gasket and set it down on the motor. Now, there is a chance that you could put these on upside down. And when you put them on upside down, the exhaust cutout will be over on the intake cutout, and it will cover up part of your valve. So make sure when you set this down and on that none of your valves are going to hit the head gasket. I may know somebody that put them on backwards before, and the motors do not like it, so don't do that. Alright, so we got the gasket on, and then we're just going to slide the head down and on. Simple as that. Run around with my head studs. Get one in each hole. And none of these head studs that I'm putting in have an Allen spot on them to tighten these down. So I got this tool right here, and it grabs the outside of it. You got to be a little careful with it, because if you go too gung-ho on it, you could mar up the threads on your head stud and cause your nut not to tighten down. It'll get caught up on those nicks that you got in there. So come in here with this, run them down. Then on these Rhino 2.1s, we have these little aluminum spacers that we install onto these studs just to make it look a little bit better. A lot of motors don't have these, some do. We like to run them. So get the aluminum piece on there. If you don't have that aluminum piece, then skip that procedure and go right to this one. You should have a steel washer in between the aluminum and your nut. If you're running just a nut with no steel washer, this nut is going to dig into the aluminum. Then your head's going to become loose, your head gasket's going to blow out, and you're going to lose all your compression that way. They do make head studs that already have washers on them. They have nuts that already have a washer mounted on them. Something like that will work. Just make sure that you put a steel washer in between the aluminum and the steel nut. Alright, now we're going to get the nuts on. got those all on. Maybe. There we go. Grab my 1/2-inch socket, and now I'm just going to run them down just so that they're snug. Not really putting any pressure on. Alright. Now we're going to torque them. So, Super Rhino 2.1s, most other 3.5-inch motors out there, head torque specs is usually about 200 inch-pounds. You got to be careful with older motors that have been through a ton of heat cycles. The aluminum becomes brittle and weak, and if you go for that full 200 inch-pounds, sometimes you'll just pull the threads right out, and then you gotta helicoil it or put twin inserts in it. So with the older motors, I like to creep up on it. So I'll start out at 150 inch-pounds. When you torque it at the 150, that allows all the silicone to kind of gush out. And then step up to 175 and feel for it. You can feel the nut when you're torquing it down. You know, sometimes they'll spin and you're like, that one's about to rip everything out. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. And then I'll switch over to 200 inch-pounds and take it to that. Blockzillas, you know, typically about 175 inch-pounds on a Blockzilla engine. Raptor engines, which are like your 1190 engines, will do 150 inch-pounds on those. So those are about the 3 different torque specs that we use. 150, 175, and 200 inch-pounds. Your 3.5-inch motors, Rhino 3100 motors, usually about 200 inch-pounds. So the first time I'm going to torque them down, just like anything else, use a cross pattern. Go from one side to the other and then just kind of work around in either a clockwise or counterclockwise fashion, whatever suits your fancy. So here we go, number 1. Got that one torqued down. Number 2. And if you notice, I know the camera's kind of far away, but just trust me. It is starting, the silicone is starting to gush out. So we got these 2. Just gonna cross over again. Get that one torqued, come back to the other side. Torque this one down. Cross back over. And cross over again. That is number 7. Number 8. And number 9. All right, so we're done. Nope, we're not done. Okay, so what I mean by that, so what I do next is I just come around and I like to wipe off the excess silicone that all squished out, you know, make it look kind of nice. And then what I do with this motor is I want to give it time to let the silicone all gush out of there. So as that silicone slowly squeezing out, it's losing the torque that we just torqued it down to, because you know the stuff that's filling the void is all squishing out, and so then your torques are loosening up. So what we do is, what I found is you're going to wait about 15 or 20 minutes. So we're going to do that on this block. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I'll come back in 15 minutes and retorque these back down, and then that will be it. So we'll see you guys in a few minutes. All right, guys, we're back. It's been about 20-25 minutes, and so still 200 inch-pounds. We're gonna grab the motor that we just torqued about 15 minutes ago. I did finish up the other one, so I'm gonna do both of them. So here we are. When I do it this time, I don't necessarily always do the crossover pattern. I may just go around in a circle. This time it doesn't really matter, but we'll stick to the cross. And as you can see, when I just torqued it, I got a little bit more movement out of the nut. So that kind of tells me that it wasn't quite fully torqued, that the silicone all squished out. And so there, we'll go around and retorque all of these. And as you can see, just about all of them, I'm getting a little bit more out of them. That one I didn't. That one I did. So you can kind of see how that works. I'm going to grab the other one and do the same thing. All right, so there's that. And then what I'll do is I'll go back around with a rag, because you'll see a little bit more silicone squished out of it. So I'll get that cleaned up. And so now we got the motors basically done. You know, the coil timing's all done, cam timing's all done, the lash is all set. I got the head on. Number one rule that I've learned over the years of assembling these motors is that every single time, no matter what, even if you know you've got this thing, you know that it's all set and there's no problems, before you put your starter on that starter nut and try to fire this thing up, I would highly recommend one last thing. And it's real simple, only takes a couple seconds. And it may save you from having to disassemble this motor all over again and fix something. But grab a hold of the flywheel and roll it all the way over. One valve is coming up, exhaust valve's coming up, exhaust valve's going down, intake valve is coming up. And we made one full revolution. So the reason why I do that, bunch of reasons. You know, if I put a head gasket on backwards, I would rather turn this over by hand and feel that valve hit that head gasket, and then I can stop and not damage anything at all. Pull the head off, flip my head gasket over, put it back together, do the same thing. If I put a starter on this starter nut and I whack it, that valve's going to hit that head gasket so hard it's going to bend it. Now you need a new valve, you need a new head gasket. You're basically done before you even get started. Also, spinning it over, you know, you're kind of feeling for anything down inside the motor. You know, make sure a bolt didn't go through into the sleeve and your piston gets caught on it. Something got jammed in there, the rod's hitting the cam, anything like that. After you have it all assembled and you're ready to put the spark plug in, the intake, the exhaust, the valve cover, always, number one, always do it. I've made the mistake. Always roll it all the way over, just to make sure that nothing is hidden. All right, guys, another episode there for you. I hope this really helps you guys out. I've got a lot more videos to come, so stay tuned, like and subscribe. That way you'll be notified when any of my videos come out. All right, you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.